Okay, are we on the air?
Yep.
Welcome to the Oracle of Enlightenment Vortex. This is the Observer, Sal Monaco. I'm sorry for the late start, folks. I want to, of course, you know Anne and you know Amanda.
Hello.
I'm not going to bother with our radio names now. Ladies and gentlemen, our very special guest, who is first time on the show in about 20 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the great George Buza. George, it's so
Hello,
great
everybody.
to see you. Yeah. So, all right, let's get started. So, George, the biggest thing everyone wants to hear about is the reboot. We heard that your the X-Men '97 show's going to be coming back for another season.
Yes, we're still working on putting together the last bits of season 2.
That's good.
They're polishing it and trying to make it as best as they possibly can before they put it out there.
Now, you're one of the few actors who's reprising the same role from the original show. How does that feel?
Well, it feels great. This is something we talked about when we did our very first con when Eric and Julia wrote the book previously on X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
We all got together down in Texas, and we were talking about, wouldn't it be nice if we got to go back and do some more X-Men?
Yep.
And then a couple of years went by, the pandemic hit, and the next thing you knew, we got a call saying we're back.
Yeah. There have been several shows in between. But X-Men '97, the original, is always the best. I mean, it always has been. And you guys have made it even darker and harder edged now.
So the world has become a lot harder and darker edged.
That's very true. Now, the reason it's called X-Men '97 is because it takes place in 1997, the year after the old series ended.
Because that's where we left off.
Right.
And the show picks up right where we
left off.
Stopped.
Yeah. It's nice to be able to do that with animation.
That's right. Otherwise, we'd look a heck of a lot different.
Yeah, really. So Amanda wanted to point out your appearance in X-Men 1.
Yes, that was a gift.
Was it?
I had gone to audition because they put out a general casting call for all the incidental characters when the movie was being shot here in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my 5-line audition, and my friend was the stunt coordinator, and he was sitting next to Bryan Singer, and he leaned over to him, and he whispered to him, he says, that's the voice of Beast.
Mm.
And Brian's face lit up, and he invited me over closer to the table, and he said, without your show, I wouldn't be making this movie today.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the part of the trucker and got some nice scenes, had the chance to meet Hugh Jackman, do a little bit with him. Not Anna Paquin.
Yeah, how was she?
She was actually very, very quiet, very reserved. I think it was very early on in her career yet.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't have much of a conversation. Hugh was very personable.
He was.
Nice guy.
He seems like that in his interviews.
He wasn't mean at all.
That's great. It's good to know.
Did he do any singing?
Is
Known for it. It's almost as much for his singing now than his playing Logan.
Well, it's nice to know he was good to everybody.
He was a very, very nice guy.
That's great. So yeah, it was great seeing you in the movie. I recognized you immediately back then when we first saw it, and I was like, "Oh, there's George. I'm glad he's on." All right. So how does it feel being back in the swing of things with Beast?
Oh, it feels absolutely wonderful. I mean, this was a very, very fond character of mine that I never really thought that this was going to be part of the legacy.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, it was like almost 30 years ago now when we started doing the thing.
Wow.
And, it was just another one of those jobs that you did. Animation was something that almost all the actors did on the side.
Mm-hmm.
In Canada, there's no such thing as just being a voice actor.
Mm-hmm.
You do everything. Yeah. And I was doing another TV series at the time called Maniac Mansion.
Yes.
With a lot of the SCTV people, produced by George Lucas and the Family Channel.
Yep.
And so I was zipping back and forth from one studio to the other, dressed up as a 4-year-old kid. doing Maniac Mansion, and then going across town to the other studio to do X-Men.
Yeah, you played Turner, the
Yes.
4-year-old turned into an adult, I believe, right?
Well, he turned into a giant. He didn't turn into adult. He
Oh,
kept his 4-year-old personality,
right,
but he had this giant body.
right, right. So the whole thing was about experiments that had gone wrong, right? Like one
Yeah, and
person was,
mutations.
yeah, one person was turned into a bug.
Yeah. My uncle got turned into a fly.
Yeah. I remember you saying at one of the cons that you were always casted as badass bikers and things, like you were on Friday the 13th, the series, which I
Yeah.
really loved in that episode with Chris Wiggins, who, of course, has been a guest on the show. And you said playing a 4-year-old was a real challenge to your acting after all that, right?
Well, it was also an opportunity to break out from the stereotypes. I've actually been really blessed in being able to play a lot of different characters.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people, once they get typecast, they can't break out of that.
Mm.
And I've not only played the 4-year-old kid, but I've played a priest. I got in What Makes a Family.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke Shields and Cherry Jones played a lesbian couple that were trying to adopt a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, they had the child through artificial insemination.
Mm-hmm.
And I played the priest that married the two of them.
Wow.
So I've had a lot of varying roles that broke out of the biker stereotype. I just enjoyed that because I'd been into motorcycles since I was 15 years old. So any opportunity I got to go and do bike stuff, I was ready.
Yep. All right. Well, I want to talk about one of my favorite, a couple of my favorite shows that you've done, Sinbad, where you played Sinbad's brother. That was an amazing series.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with that. That was a lot of fun. Some of the hardest work I've ever done.
Yeah.
The days were interminably long, and the fight scenes were also very long. I mean, once you started that, every fight scene took almost all day to film,
Wow.
and the sword weighed about 12 pounds. So it was a real challenge physically.
Ah. We have a comment from Justin Trumbull. He says, "Hi, George. I worked with you at Nickel City Con as a line attendant helping control lines."
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
Then hello back.
Yeah, Justin.
You're under about what, 20 feet of snow right now?
Well, this area is the area where we live is completely dry so far.
Yeah, it depends where. It's always like that every winter.
But here by the studio, it's pretty buried.
Yeah,
Not
I
as-
just saw it on the news.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
you should have seen it if you saw the Bills game yesterday. Oh God.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I saw the people shoveling out their seats.
Yeah, and the
I-
people were skidding all. The players were skidding all over the field, and
I
it
get a
was
kick
wild.
out of that. It was
Yeah.
funny.
You'd think that somebody that lived in that kind of a climate, like you'd build a dome.
You would think.
Not so much fun.
Yeah, but it's why we win because other teams can't handle the snow.
Yeah.
With
Well,
a
you see,
dome.
I came from Cleveland, and we never had a dome either. And even when they tore down the old landmark stadium, they built another one without a dome.
Right.
And you don't get.
And Cleveland gets a lot of snow.
Yeah.
And then with a dome, you don't get snow angels by the team quarterback and the coach.
Yeah. So, to get back to the TV show, why was it canceled after 2 seasons? Because you guys had this nice storyline going with aliens putting bracelets on Sinbad and on Vaughn's
yeah.
character and everything else. What happened there?
Well, we anticipated going a third season, but that was backroom politics that killed that show.
Oh, that's terrible.
I don't want to speak out of class, even though it's like 30 years ago. But there were a lot of cooks in the kitchen on that one.
Well,
There was national production.
Mm-hmm.
The Canadians, Americans, all American television,
Mm-hmm.
and then they had a third partner who bailed, and then the Germans came in,
Mm-hmm.
and they wanted to put in a whole lot of money. And we were kind of doing a children's show, and the Germans wanted a lot harder.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what happened was after they come to some sort of an agreement of how are things going to be done, the American producer, who shall remain nameless,
Mm-hmm.
walks into the meeting and goes, "All right, I'm going to tell you how things are going to be." And the Germans looked at each other and went, "We're walking." And that was the end of the show.
Mm. That's a
Because
shame.
it cost well over $1 million an episode to do.
Ooh.
Wow.
But back in the early days of CGI, every time you did a hit, it was $3,000.
Wow.
So all those fights that we did with the monsters, every time you hit somebody,
Mm-hmm.
the contact to actually create it on screen cost over $3,000.
Wow.
Oh.
Today you can do it in a heartbeat on the computer.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, which was in its infancy, it was a very expensive show. It wasn't our salaries that pushed the budget up, that's for sure. It was all the special effects.
Mm.
And we also shot it in South Africa, which is,
Wow.
no labor laws.
Yeah.
You get people working for next to nothing. You can work all long hours.
Yeah. You mentioned you had the same issue when you did Quest for Fire, the movie, and that they
Yeah.
had you sleeping on big, huge things of elephant dung and.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They actually treated our costumes, which were nothing more than animal hides with a hole cut through them
Mm-hmm.
to fit over your neck so that it would attract bugs.
Mm.
Because the director, God bless him, thought it would be really neat that, these people were always so slimy and dirty that they would attract these large clouds of insects.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't understand why we were always surrounded by this cloud of insects.
Mm.
And then one of the wardrobe people told me, he says, "Oh, yeah, they've all been treated to especially attract bugs." He says,
Ooh.
"This is Africa. I mean, those bugs can kill you."
Oh,
Yeah.
that would.
There's no vaccine against tsetse flies.
Yeah. And they had you. They made something out of local grape juice or something that was really disgusting for you guys to eat.
Well, I was the one that was eating the arm. When they had the one-armed guy hanging in the tree, I was in the cannibal tribe.
Uh-huh.
And they had this arm that was made out of foam.
Mm-hmm.
And in the middle of it was like sort of half raw ham.
Mm-hmm.
Then they poured this grape juice concentrate over it to make it look like coagulating blood.
Mm-hmm.
I had to chew on this and eat this stuff. And that had been sitting out in the hot African sun for probably half a day before it got to me.
Wow.
So it was, you didn't want to swallow any of that stuff.
No.
It
And
was chew, 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 spit, spit, spit.
and you said
But that was a show that was really, really stretching the endurance level of all the performers. I mean, when they were shooting up in Northern Ontario,
Mm-hmm.
I bowed out of the show by that time.
Mm-hmm.
It was April, and they were in Georgian Bay.
Mm-hmm.
The ice was still floating on the lake, and they were in there shooting that, and people were getting hypothermia. I mean, our costume basically consisted of an animal skin with a hole in the middle that fit over your head.
Wow.
And you wore nothing on underneath it. You were in bare feet. And these guys were wading around in the water.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, we have a Buffalo Bill that went to a game in a blizzard in bare feet, so.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
Matt Collins.
Yeah, the things we do for our art, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. You even said that you were supposed to sleep on elephant dung, and they said, who wants to be sleeping and who wants to be up, and you told them, I'm going to be up.
Oh, yeah. I was not one of the ones that wanted to be lying down.
Yeah.
I do not blame you.
Yeah.
But mind you, it was some of the most beautiful country that I'd ever seen. And, for the whole, I think we were there for about 5 weeks. We stayed at the Nagulia Safari Lodge. For the paying customers, that was even back in the day, like $300-400 a night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But that included, their excursions out to see the wildlife, which we saw all the time because we took over one of their watering holes.
Mm.
Much to their dismay. We weren't appreciated.
Yeah. George, Justin, and a couple other people are asking. They want 8x10 signed by you, and they're willing to pay for them. They want to know how to get them.
Well, I will just send it out to them if they want to give me their address.
Okay. Send me your address, folks, and I'll forward it to George. Okay, Justin.
As long as it's within reason, because I can't sit here and send out like 1,000.
I don't.
I can do one or two.
Yeah. Well, if you got 1,000, then it would show how great our numbers are. But I don't think that's gonna happen. But
I'll sign one for Justin.
Okay, great. I wanted.
Although,
Yeah.
you realize that in Canada right now there's a postal strike that could go on for eternity.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I have no way of getting this out. There's no post offices open. There's no way to send it anywhere.
Wow. That's wild.
Hopefully that ends
Yeah.
soon. I didn't hear about
Our
that.
Christmas present.
Yeah. So, when you had to appear as Beast on Spider-Man, how come the design was so different?
Different animator.
Oh,
Oh.
and he didn't. Did they have
Spider-Man was being done in
Vancouver?
the U.S.
Oh, the U.S.
by, oh yeah, that wasn't Saban. I don't know if that was Saban Entertainment that did that or not, but we were being animated by the cheapest animators possible because Saban was tight-fisted, and we went from, I think, being animated in the Philippines, and then they found somebody cheaper to do it in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So even in our own 5 years, we had a difference in the quality of the animation.
Mm.
But Spider-Man was a Fox production that was being done down in L.A.
So they flew you to L.A. or you did?
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
We recorded it all right here in Toronto and sent our stuff down by cassette tape.
Oh, okay. Well,
Again, there wasn't the technology that exists today, so everything that we recorded in Toronto got sent down to L.A. in cassette form.
yeah. Well, I was always upset that you spent most of the first season in jail.
So that makes two of us.
I remember we laughed about it during one of the panels at Prime Media. But it was so great that Beast was so popular that once they let you out, you became such an integral part of the show.
Well, they revealed to me that he wasn't going to be a part of the regular cast in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and that he was just brought in for the first couple of episodes, and then they sent him off to jail, and they were going to forget about him.
Uh-huh.
And then I guess people started going, "Hey, where's Beast? Whatever happened to Beast?"
Mm-hmm.
So they eventually got him out and made him a part of the regular cast, which I'm very grateful for.
Yes, so are we, because with all the other Beasts we've seen, I'm not just saying this because I've known you for 30 years, but you have always given the best portrayal of Beast. I mean, there's been like 3 or 4 X-Men cartoons since your original was done, and I'm not saying that the others didn't do a good job. I'm saying that they didn't do as good a job as you.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Set a high bar.
Yeah, you did.
Well, Beast was a character that I could really identify with very closely.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was a kid, I was the fat kid in school in the 1950s. I got bullied a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But because I was a big kid, eventually I had to respond to a lot of this bullying.
Mm-hmm.
And back then, what they did was if they wanted to fight you, they formed a circle around you. And the entire schoolyard was out there forming the circle. There was no way out. And the guy that wanted to challenge you stepped into the middle of the circle with you, and he started punching you.
Right.
And in the beginning, I didn't know what the heck to do. It was just like, oh my God, I'm getting the crap kicked out of me again. And I hated going to school. I didn't enjoy the whole experience. And then one day, I went Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And I dropped the guy. And I went, hey, I can do this. And eventually the bullying stopped.
Great.
So the whole thing of trying to approach the situation with reason and trying to walk out of things is something that Beast always did. But when it came down to the nitty gritty, if there was no other way, he went Beast.
Yep.
And he has a quote, he's coming out of the building and he gives this long-winded quote about the inexorable, your moronic behavior and everything. And then he
Yeah.
lays waste to the whole group.
Well, now that you guys have suffered the Genosha massacre, I think Beast is going to become a lot darker in the next season.
Well, there was that line. Maybe Magneto was right. And
Yeah.
I don't know where it's going to be going after that because we don't see scripts until like a couple of days before we record.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was something else.
Yeah. What are you working on now? Before I go back to the besides
Well,
X-Men.
nothing. I'm just doing some Comic Cons. The other day we did a signing at a local comic book store called the Silver Snail.
Mm.
That was just on Saturday, and we had a lot of fun. We got together again with Wolverine and Catherine Disher
Mm-hmm.
and Allison Court.
Mm-hmm.
There were 4 of us there.
Mm-hmm.
And we met some of the local fans and had a nice time, had dinner.
Cool.
And then we're doing a show in Albuquerque in January.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be a bunch of us going down there.
Cool.
And I was doing a recurring part on Ginny in Georgia.
Yeah, Amanda loves that show.
Yeah.
But they kept doing me as a flashback character. So I never got a chance to, except in the very first episode,
Yeah.
to play a current character. And they kept trying to make me look like I was in my 40s again, doing all these flashback scenes.
Yeah.
And there would be, 1 or 2 a season, and that would be it. And then they'd cancel it. So I'd much rather just, concentrate on doing the X-Men, which is like 9 episodes, 10 episodes a season through a year. So it's not a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a shame that they cut you guys off back in '96 because they got to the syndicated episode package and then said, "Okay, we're stopping."
Yeah. Well, that's the way that things went. Nobody went beyond their required. Like a lot of seasons, small syndication was 3 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then major syndication was 5 seasons, and almost every show, unless it was a stupendous hit, would just cash in.
Yeah, some never made it past 7.
Some never made it past 1.
Yeah, well, that's still true to today.
Well, I did the wrestling show.
Oh,
Learning
that's
the ropes.
the other one I wanted to talk about.
That went 1 season.
Yeah, I loved your performance as the Baron of Bucks.
Whacking people in the head with a sack of pennies.
Yeah, and you were like, I got to figure out what to do. I'm making too much money.
Yeah.
And then there was something went wrong in your bag, and Lyle Elzado went to check it out, and all of a sudden you heard, "This is the Baron of Bucks's gym bag. I'm not in right now."
Yeah.
And then he goes,
that.
"Yeah." And then he goes, "They're all crazy." Then he puts on the mask and goes, "Rrr."
Well, wrestlers are all crazy. There's no doubt about it.
Well, we know quite
we had
a few,
whole
so
mess
yeah.
of them that we worked with on Quest for Fire.
Yeah.
And the guys that were in my tribe that were wrestlers with the Giant Haystacks, the Great Antonio, Adrian Street, and the Mongols. They were all from the United Kingdom. And Adrian Street and I became pretty good buddies. We hung out together a lot. And the Mongols were absolutely insane. Butch and Danny Lynch. At the time, I think when we did that show, I was 28 or 29 years old. And Butch Lynch, we were rehearsing on the side of Ben Nevis. And he picked me up and threw me to Danny Lynch, who then threw me back. And they were playing catch with me on the side of a mountain.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Their sense of humor was, you want dark. And Adrian warned me about him. He says, these guys are absolutely insane. He says, do not piss them off. And he said that to me because when we were having dinner one night, there were all these beetles that would be flying into our food. landing in our drinks. They were completely harmless, but there were thousands of them. And I
Mhm.
picked one out of my drink with a spoon, and I flicked it, and it bounced off of Danny Lynch's head. It was bald as a bowling ball. And Adrian went absolutely ballistic. He says, "Holy shit!" He says, "What did you do?" He says, "Don't ever let him know that that was you." He says, "I've seen him put guys into the hospital, just on a practical joke." Holy mackerel! He says, "Don't do that. No, no."
That's
And these
wild.
guys, he says, for an extra 50 quid, he'd take a razor blade and slice his head.
Mhm.
Blood in the ring.
Yeah, a lot of them did that.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
all these guys, I think, have passed on now. Adrian died a few years ago,
yep.
and that was sad.
So many wrestlers have passed early on. It's terrible. Especially,
Well, Quest for Fire was 44 years ago.
yes, but it won a lot of awards.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They won an Oscar for makeup.
Mhm. Yep, it's considered one of the greats. I
I
actually,
ran into Ron Perlman at a show. Just the last one we did was in Cincinnati.
mhm.
And he and I hadn't seen each other in a long time, like since Quest for Fire.
Wow.
And so I went up to him and he said, "Bose, you were in my very first movie." And we had a picture together, just like we back in the old days when we were young. Now we're both old.
Yeah, we just saw him last year up here in Niagara Falls, and we talked about all his makeup roles and things. And he said he loves having a role that doesn't include a lot of makeup right now, but he misses the paycheck he would get for the makeup.
Well, he was just saying at the last show that he misses doing TV. He misses the paycheck.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He says, I guess he hasn't done a series since
Beauty and the
the
Beast.
no,
Oh
he
no.
did
I know.
Sons of Anarchy.
Yeah, Sons of Anarchy. That's what I
I was
meant
about
to
to say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So during learning the ropes, what was it like working with the great Lyle Alzado?
Well, again, he was a very nice guy. I only did a couple of episodes,
Yeah,
but he was tremendously nice.
I'm glad
It's
to
a
hear
shame. I mean, his passing as well.
that. Yeah.
But he went on a big campaign about the anabolic steroids and the growth hormones that he used to take,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically what gave him his brain cancer.
Yeah.
He blames that, or did.
Mm-hmm.
And he went on a big campaign urging, young bodybuilders and wrestlers to stay away from that poison.
Yeah. I
But a
remember
lot of
him.
the guys that were on, I asked Danny Lynch, I said, "How did you guys get so big?" And he told me flat out, he says, "Beer and steroids."
Ooh. Yeah. Neither one is good for you.
No.
Yeah. So yeah. The other show I wanted to talk to you about was your first TV show, and it's my favorite kids show of all time. Read all about it. You did an episode, and you played one of the actors in the park. The episode was called Voices in the Park, and
Yes.
you just did such an amazing job.
That still comes back with people coming with things they pulled offline, and I'm signing pictures from Read All About It.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was in the very, very late, mid 70s, I think.
Yes, it was. Actually, it was 1980, and your
Oh.
character's name was Barry.
Well, that wasn't my first TV show then.
Oh well, it's the
The
first
very
one.
first TV show that I ever did
Yeah.
was called Flip Wilson's Salute to Football,
Oh wow.
and that was in the 70s.
Mm.
And I got to work with Flip Wilson,
So when
and that was really exciting.
that must have been exciting. It must have been amazing. The great Flip Wilson. Oh wow. I would have loved to have met him. So when you did Read All About, you worked with Lynn Davis. Was she great to work with?
I can't remember.
Oh.
That's I've lost a lot of the memories of some of the old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think we did that in like 1 or 2 days.
Mm.
So there's not a lot to remember.
Oh, okay. I just remember it was a great episode. It was actually the second season. I read all about it. There was 2 seasons.
I've gone back and looked all these things up online to try and refresh my memory,
Mm-hmm.
but it only goes so far.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Got a
Amanda's
lot to remember.
Amanda's the
definitely.
big Star Wars
Oh
fan.
yeah.
So the fact that you did droids and Ewoks and you
Oh
were Chief
yeah.
Chirpa in Ewoks, um, she thought was really great.
Well, so did I. That was my first mind-blowing experience as an actor. All the other stuff that I'd done up until that point was all the local Canadian shows and things. But when I had gone to see Star Wars with my roommate,
Mm-hmm.
we
Oh,
were like
that
the
must have
two
been
guys that had gone
amazing.
to see Star Wars on The Big Bang Theory.
Mm-hmm.
We were just so blown away, like this was the best movie we'd ever seen in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we actually started walking in the wrong direction when we came out of the theater. We were just so mesmerized by what we'd seen. And then when the audition came up to actually audition for one of the characters in Ewoks,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was kind of like validation of your career. You
Mm-hmm.
got a chance to be a part of something as big as Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
even if it was a few years down the line and it was animation.
Mm-hmm.
Still, to be a part of that franchise was a really exciting thing. Still is.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw the first movie when they re-released it in I think '97, and I have been hooked on that franchise since.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I
hard not to like.
I even read the books.
Yeah, and you did one of the best characters, Chief Chirpa.
Well, the girl that plays Jubilee,
Yeah,
Allison
Alice.
Port, she played my daughter.
Yeah,
Oh,
I remember. Alice, of course, has been on the show before, and we just reconnected with her at the same time we did with George at the con. And it was good seeing both of you after all these years. Um, you did one of another cartoon I really liked, Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Oh yeah,
That must have been nice.
that was fun.
Yeah. And you also did the Never Ending Story. That was
Yeah,
with Chris Wiggins again.
yeah, yeah.
So you worked with Chris in that and in Friday the
Well, I knew
13th.
Chris. Chris and I we weren't never hanging out together,
Mm-hmm.
but we did a lot of shows. He was a guest on Maniac Mansion,
Mm.
and then I did a bunch of episodes of Friday the 13th.
Oh, yes, I remember.
And we saw each other constantly at auditions, and we'd run into each other at social events.
Mm. Yeah, he was a good friend to me and a mentor, and I miss him greatly. Um, let's see. You also did Mystic Warriors, Guardian of the Legend. That
Yep.
one was pretty great.
The director, Dan Hennessy,
Mm-hmm.
directed that one, and he also directed the first 4 seasons of X-Men.
Oh, okay.
And he just passed away last week.
Wow. Mm. And you did Beyblade, one of the most interesting animes.
Yeah.
Well, you were doing the American dub. Is it different when you're? I ask every voice actor this. Is it how different is it when you're dubbing a cartoon that's already been done by a different actor to a different language, or when you're starting a character fresh? I mean, do you?
Well, starting a character fresh is a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because they animate to your voice.
Right.
But to try and match the lip movements of somebody speaking Japanese,
that's gonna be difficult.
that was really difficult. It took a long time.
Yeah.
Again, the technology has improved a lot because I've done some since that they've developed the system where they can computerize the cues so that you're matching the lip movements a lot closer. But back then, when we were doing Beyblade and the Mystic Warriors, we had like I would say about 60% of the lip match was up to us.
Mm-hmm.
We had general cues of when to start speaking, but you had to time it out on your own pace and look at very carefully how the lips of the character were moving, so that even if you didn't get every single lip flap with the correct sounds, you at least stopped when his mouth stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, must have been
it was
something.
the hardest work, the hardest voice work I ever did,
I see. Yeah.
and the lowest paid.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yes.
So dubbing pays less than.
Oh yeah,
Oh, okay.
way less.
Oh, interesting. Didn't know that. Okay. You were also on one of the greatest Canadian kid shows of all time, The Littlest Hobo. How was that?
No, that was fun.
Yeah.
And again, working with Patrick McNee,
Oh yeah, definitely.
that was another one of those exciting moments in my life, because I used to be a big fan of the Avengers,
Mm-hmm.
and then to have scenes with Patrick and get to know him,
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty exciting. I did
That's
a few episodes of Littlest Hobo.
yeah. For those of you out there, that's the British Avengers, not the Marvel Avengers.
No, no, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was great. How was it working with the dog? I mean, was he really
Well,
well?
they had like a half a dozen dogs.
Oh, they did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and each one had a different forte.
Mm-hmm.
So they tried to get them to all look the same, and they used a little bit of hairspray to make them all look alike.
Mm.
But they all had their individual talents, so they used different dogs for different scenes.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
again, whenever you're working with an animal, you don't the trainers don't let you go and be friendly with them, and
Really?
That'd be so hard for me.
Me too.
I'm like, I
well,
just want
the
to
dogs
snuggle.
had to obey commands,
Mm-hmm.
That makes
and so you
sense.
couldn't really distract them.
They're
Mm.
They
working.
weren't there to play with you or to be your buddy.
Right.
They were your fellow actors, and they had a job to do just like you did.
It's
And
like
they had to respond to the commands of the trainer.
It's like
Yeah.
if you run into somebody with a service dog, they're working. You can't. They're not there to pet. They're there to work.
Yeah. When I directed my first feature film, we had a rabbit actor, and he took direction a lot better than a lot of the human actors. Yeah. So, yeah. Ann, do you have a question for George? You're kind of quiet over there.
Seems like you had an amazing career. You've done a lot of things over the years.
Yeah. You did Pocahontas the Legend. Was that the sequel to Pocahontas? The Disney cartoon, or was it something
No,
different?
no. This was live action.
Oh, okay.
I just got it from Amazon today. I've been trying to collect all the DVDs of the movies and stuff that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of leave it to the kids so that they can. Now that I'm in my old age, I want to leave something that they can see what the grandpa did.
Oh, nice.
So I've been ordering the DVDs of stuff that's available, and Pocahontas just came today.
Oh.
That's great. That's
Nice.
great. Yeah.
But that was a live action film.
Yeah.
If you get everything on DVD, you must have you're gonna have a large DVD collection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I want to start getting DVDs because like things are coming and going so much off of streaming. You never know. If you have the DVD, you always have the DVD.
Yeah, that's very true.
The DVDs could actually be disappearing because everything is
yeah.
streaming now.
And the watching will be able to play.
Yeah.
Things have gone through so many metamorphoses.
Yeah.
Like, I had a beautiful vinyl collection
Mm-hmm.
of records, and then everything went to tape. I had an 8-track, which lasted about a heartbeat because it ate all the tapes,
Mm-hmm.
and then everything was cassettes,
Mm-hmm.
and then nobody bought vinyl anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And then cassettes became obsolete, and everything you had to transfer to DVD, to CD.
Yeah, CD, then DVD.
And then CDs got extinct,
mm-hmm.
and everything started to stream. And if you're buying a new car,
Downloads.
You don't even get a CD player in the darn car
No.
anymore. I got
Or-
one of the very last ones.
Mm.
And
Or an audio
I looked
player.
around until I found one that still had a DVD player because what am I going to do? I don't even know how to do all this streaming stuff. It would take me a lifetime to transfer everything that I've got from CDs now onto some sticks or whatever.
Yeah.
But
I haven't got
vinyls are
that kind of time.
vinyls are coming back into like not like huge popularity, but they're like a little bit of a niche.
Yeah, well, the audiophiles,
Mhm.
because the sound is so much more accurate and human
Like they
in vinyl. Like
Mhm.
the CDs is a very
yeah.
harsh staccato type of a sound.
I know Taylor Swift just released her latest album on vinyl, like a extended version, and her fans just gobbled those up. They went so fast. Like there are like CDs available, like the CD copies, but all the vinyls gone. Like there's a very nice niche of like different fans that are just gobbling up the vinyls and their favorite
Oh yeah.
artists.
Mhm.
I haven't thought about getting a record player, but I'm like, nah. Like I like to skip around, and I don't know how to do that on a record. So I'm like,
You lift the arm and you
Yeah.
move it.
Yeah.
Move it. Yeah. I used to do that, and it was never easy.
I don't
Like-
like this cut. Let's.
so I'm like, I don't want to learn how to use something new. I'll just stick with the CDs and the streaming.
Right. All right. My next question. You were Mean Gene in Meatballs 3.
Yes.
That was one of the
A
best.
nonstop party.
Yeah. What was that like doing a Meatballs movie?
Well, that was, I said, that was a nonstop party.
Yeah.
The delineation between film and reality, it was very, very thin because we filmed a party, and then afterwards we'd party, and then we'd film the party, and then we'd party.
Which party
mean,
was
that
more
scene-
fun?
The scene where Ronnie Hawkins is playing and we're all partying in the bar, everybody's drinking real beer.
Ooh.
We all got hammered. I think I pounded back 18 beers during the filming of that scene.
Wow.
Yeah, well, when I directed my first movie, we shot in a bar, and I let everybody drink. And in one particular case, it actually, even though the actress was a little tipsy, she still delivered an amazing performance.
Well, we were all supposed to be hammered.
Right.
You know, we're a bunch of crazy bikers, and again, during the off hours, we would take those boats out onto the lake, and we would terrorize people.
Yeah.
See, that's like the fun form of method acting.
It wasn't method acting. It was they
I'm
just
joking.
happened to pick the right people that couldn't stop partying.
Amanda asked which party was more fun, the fake one or the real one?
It's hard to delineate 'cause
Yeah. Yeah. All right. There's one question from before that I didn't get a chance to ask. I'm going to ask it now. Did they tell you where Sinbad was going to go with the whole alien thing and the bracelets that certain characters were wearing?
no.
No.
And
Oh.
again, we shut down before the thing could go anywhere.
Yeah, because that was a really cool storyline. Didn't you do an episode? I might be wrong, but didn't you? Because this is not telling everything you've done. Did you do an episode of Kung Fu: The Legend Continues?
Yes, I did several.
I thought so. Yes.
Several different episodes.
That must have been fun. I've met the entire cast of that show, and it was really a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess it was. You know,
Yeah. I think in one episode you played an orderly at a.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually got to have a little fight with Captain Kung Fu there.
David, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I met David once, and I've worked with his brother a few times, and
I've worked with his brothers as well.
yeah, they're an interesting bunch.
Yeah, that they are.
But Chris was the one I knew the best, and I was sorry to see he wasn't playing Gambit again on your show. But
Yeah, he was too.
but they did give him one character, didn't they?
Well, he's Cable now.
Cable, yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay.
right. Okay. Just like they let Alice back on as the alternate Jubilee from the video game rather than the regular Jubilee. Although I think they should have given her part back, but
Well, everybody thinks that whatever. You don't know why or what went on.
Yeah,
We're just happy to be a part of it again.
right. I mean, Patrick Stewart, who I've only met once, unfortunately, he's playing a butler instead of playing Professor X.
Yeah.
The whole thing is just strange. But like I said, I was so happy to see that you were back in the role of Beast. So what other TV show or movie have you done that you thought was really great?
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes. I remember
Those 2 years that I spent doing that with Peter Scolari, who's probably one of the very nicest actors that I've ever worked with in my entire life. That was the most joyous time that I spent on set of anything.
Yeah, I remember that show. It was great.
There was never any unnecessary drama or it was a peaceful set. We were there to have fun and to make people laugh, and that was our sole purpose. And the only time that anybody ever got into kind of like a jockeying match was who got to stand next to the youngest kid, because they would always shoot them out. So if you were standing next to them, you got shot out too. You could go home early. So that was about the extent of any kind of on-set rivalries. Yeah, it was just such a happy place.
Yeah, but that show was so well written, especially for the times. I mean, every episode had
the same executive producer and writer did Sinbad.
Oh, okay. Well, that explains it. Yeah.
And he's the one that brought me in because we just finished Sinbad, and he brought me in to audition for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yeah, everyone thought, oh, they can't make a TV show out of that. Well, they proved them wrong.
I did love those movies.
Some of the most fun that I've ever had, even though I got to stand in front of an air cannon almost every single show and having disgusting things fired at me. It was all in such good fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you did. There's so many things to talk about that you've done. Like,
did you ever go to the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, like, kind of land, for lack of a better term, at Disney? When I was younger, I went there and I loved that. My parents had to drag me out of it.
Yeah, you did Cyber Chase. I always thought that was an interesting show.
Don't have very many memories of that. I think I only did 1 or 2 episodes of that.
That says 1 episode.
One episode.
I switched to a better thing on your. Right now, I remember Stir of Echoes. That was a great.
Yeah, again, getting to work with Rob Lowe. He was a very nice guy as well.
Yeah, that was great. Amanda, did you have any other questions for George?
I do not.
Okay. Like I said, you did Transformer Cybertron. Now, that a lot of those Transformer things in the middle weren't as well received as the other ones. But what did you think about doing that one?
I have no recollection whatsoever. I think that was a video game, wasn't it?
Oh no, it says 1 episode. You were a police officer.
So
yeah, okay. Knights of Zodiac, that was cool.
Well, that I remember.
Yeah. And
that was another one of those anime ones that we had to dub.
Yeah, that didn't pay as well.
That was a specifically painful because that was again prior to the more advanced queuing,
Mm.
and that was a lot of hard work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you did Mutant X. I really liked that one. Yeah,
yeah. Again, that was. I had a lot of fun doing that,
yeah, I
but
remember.
there was a lot of controversy over that show because they were being sued by X-Men.
Oh.
I do
There
Mm.
was
have a
actually
question.
a court case that developed off of that.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, and I think they resolved that they were allowed to use the Mutant X.
Yeah.
I played the head of the organization, that
Yeah, I remember.
some deep state secret society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was John Shea was
Yeah,
the star of that one, I believe. Yeah. Well, you guys did a great job with that. I mean, you did 12 episodes, and I really liked the show. I mean, it was just so well done.
it was well done. And
Yeah.
again, the producer of that was the same producer that we had on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and Sinbad.
Well, he's pretty good.
That's Jonathan Hackett.
Yeah, is he
And he went
still?
on to do Suits.
Oh, one of my
Oh.
favorite shows. No
Oh,
wonder.
the TV show?
Yeah.
He's
Oh,
one
I
of the
love that
greatest
show.
producers Canada's ever had.
Mm. Yeah,
And
Suits.
if he's listening,
Yeah, if you're listening, I'd like to have you on the show because
Yeah.
I've loved your work. Okay, Amanda has a question. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yeah. I know that I've heard from I've seen videos of other voice actors saying that that they've done recording in their own home. They have their own little studio. Do you have anything like that set up?
I bought a microphone. That's about it.
Do you do all your recording for?
Oh, no.
voice
I
work?
go in the studio.
Mm.
That was during COVID because everybody bailed. Nobody wanted to go into the studio. Everybody was isolating. And so I still have to do all my auditions here in the office.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But I've never gone through the soundproofing the place. Or I have 5 of my grandkids that live with me, so sometimes
Oh.
it gets a little noisy. The
5?
other day,
That would be hard.
I have 11 grandkids,
Whoa.
and 5 of them live with me,
Wow.
and their parents as well. They're not just the whole family is here in the house, and their 2 dogs
Mm.
That's a lot.
and a
Yep.
hamster.
You got a full house.
Yeah, it'll make
Oh,
Christmas pretty fun.
Oh, it is. That's when the other 2 families join us as well, and there's over 20 of us.
Wow. Wow.
So Christmas and all the holidays are jam-packed house.
Wow. Now I noticed you've done one episode of a lot of great shows, like you did Relic Hunter, which I really
Same
loved.
producer once again. That was Jonathan Hackett as well.
Again, great show with good writing. Lindy
Yeah.
Booth and I'm blanking on the star, but yeah, that was a great show. Rescue Heroes, that was one of the best of the yeah, it was a good show. And you did an episode of La Femme Nikita.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been on the show too. She kissed me. Yeah, was it good working on that show?
Yeah, it was. I got my wife that was on that show was Jane Eastwood, and I've known her for forever.
Mm-hmm.
Her husband was Dave Flaherty,
Mm-hmm.
Joe's brother, who was one of the writers on Maniac Mansion.
Oh, yeah.
There's a question on the chat. I don't know if you want to
Hmm?
look at that.
Oh, it's Tia Carrera. That's what.
Yeah, Tia Carrera.
Yeah, that's the name I couldn't remember. Thank you, John.
John Farrell. Was there any actors that you couldn't stand?
Anything that you'd like to admit.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to go online and start naming names.
Yeah.
People tell me I should write a book about my career, but there was so much stuff that went on during the '80s that everybody was misbehaving. And as much as it would be interesting for everybody to read, some of them are still alive and they're still my friends, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Yeah.
So, occasionally I'll tell some yarns, but I won't name names and
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's
point
advantages
fingers.
of back then. There wasn't that all the social media, and everybody has a camera on their phone and
Definitely.
pointing it at anything
No,
that seems interesting.
They were a lot
Yep.
more back then.
And you did an episode. You did a couple episodes of Forever Night
yes, I did.
with one of your current co-stars.
Yeah, Catherine.
Yeah. Which hopefully.
And Grant Wynn Davies, he's an old buddy of mine. We all knew each other from doing theater,
Well, Nigel
which is
Bennett.
how everybody came up through the ranks. Before I ever did any TV or film, I did tons and tons of theater.
Mm,
And so this is where you ran into all those other actors. I was at Stratford. I did all the regional theaters in Canada.
mhm.
I did all the major stages in Toronto. And then eventually got into doing TV.
Yeah,
some
Nigel
film.
Bennett is a friend as well.
Yeah, I did some work with Nigel.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, very nice guy.
Yeah. And Amanda wanted to point out you did an episode of one of her shows, The Magic School Bus.
Oh, yeah.
I always liked that show.
That is a fun show.
It's actually, it
I
wasn't
mean, as
really
far as kid shows go,
Yeah.
the Busy World of Richard Scarry.
That too.
I had a recurring role on that. I was Mr. Gronkle.
I've never heard of
And
that
that was a heck of a lot of fun. And then another one was one of my favorites was Grossology,
I remember that one.
where I played Sloppy Joe. Again, this was off-color humor to the max.
The
Yeah.
best kind of humor.
I enjoyed
right?
that.
And you did an episode of the new Twilight Zone.
Yes,
That must have been great.
and that was with Tony Franciosa.
Mm-hmm.
Again, one of my heroes from the '60s television days.
Yeah. That's a lot. Due South, that was an interesting show.
Yeah, I did a couple episodes of that as well.
Yeah. There's so much that you've done. We could talk to you for like 4 hours and still not get everything. But yeah, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was a great show, and there's just been so many things that
Well,
you've
even
done.
on Due South, William Smith. The first time I worked with William Smith was on a David Cronenberg film called Fast Company about drag racing. John Saxon was in that.
You did The Magical World of Disney and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. I
Yeah.
mean, those must have been great to do.
Oh, yeah, yeah. These were all very exciting things. They were all the reboots. They weren't the originals.
Yeah, I know. But even reboots are important.
Yeah, but I was a spectator, a young spectator during the originals.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get the originals till syndication, obviously.
I have a full copy of The Outer Limits, the original one.
Oh yeah, that was
that was
great.
my favorite show back then.
Yeah, it was always one of my favorites. You want to say something? Oh, we're getting the minute 30 mark. So George, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. And again, we apologize for the errors earlier with the
Technical
audio.
difficulties.
All this is a mystery to me because I am a real Luddite when it comes to computers. Luckily, I've got a lot of young kids around me that can help me out when I get into the jam because they know more about this stuff than I ever will.
Well, are you going to be doing any local cons here next year?
I don't know. I'm going to be in New York City, and I'm going to be doing San Diego,
Oh, nice.
Nice.
and I'm going to be doing Chicago, and Albuquerque is coming up in January. But that's all that's booked so far.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll be able to see you at one of the cons around here too again.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the Buffalo Con. The only
Yeah.
bad thing was that it was during our holiday,
Oh, yeah.
and the traffic. It took 4 hours to get to
Wow.
Buffalo and
Wow.
4 hours to get home.
It is
Wow.
crazy.
This is something that I usually do in like an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got 10 seconds left. Thank you, Ann. Thank you, Amanda.
Thank
and George, thank you
you.
so much. And Mike,
And
thank
you
you.
very much for having me back. It's so nice to see you all
Yeah.
again.
Come back
Definitely.
again.
Yeah,
Well,
come back.
just ask.
Happy
I'm here.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.